Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on all upcoming videos in the future. Hey guys, it's Mike here, and today myself and MJ from GeeklistTV are going to be bringing you this video in which we are going to be discussing some recent revelations in the Dragon Ball Super manga, as well as the difference between the Dragon Ball Super anime and manga, and which one we like more. And I know that that is a very polarizing opinion, which is why, to start, I did a poll over on my Twitter, which you could check out here. It is at LSM Mike, and as you can see, I happen to do a lot of tweets and I do videos, which it won't display right now for whatever reason, but I like to do videos on my Twitter as well as polls and a lot of fan interaction, and I'm going to be doing more videos involved with my Twitter, so let's bring this down. Now, MJ, this is something I found really interesting to go into this poll, and that is that a lot of people in the community from who I've heard have stated that to the question, do you guys prefer the Dragon Ball anime or manga, they have said in the past the manga. It seemed like it was pretty overwhelming. However, in this case, it appears that the Super anime won 64% to the Dragon Ball Super manga's 36%. So MJ, do you think that that's kind of interesting, and do you think it's surprising? And I guess what would be your take, and your opinion on this?
Yeah, it is very surprising because I'm looking at the votes here. You got 195 votes, 64% for the anime, 36% for the manga, and you are right. From my experience as well, from the people that I've talked to, friends, buddies, people have mentioned that they like the manga more, or I should say the art. They like the fact that the art's a bit more consistent, the fights are a bit more consistent, you know what I mean? It's not yes. Like the Zamasu versus Goku in episode 52, or the Batamo versus Goku where stuff's very stiff and overall just bad, like it just looks very bad. The fights look just a bit better in the manga, at least in their opinion, and I can sort of agree with them on that, and that's what I've been seeing the majority of the time. However, though, I think things have changed. I think ever since we've hit the midpoint maybe of the Future Trunks arc in the anime, I think that's where things started to change and people started to actually kind of just prefer the anime over the manga. I think, in my opinion, I don't know if I speak for the majority of the community, but just for what I've seen from just general posts and stuff like that, I think people just kind of just went the other route. And yeah, the manga still, I think, just have the more consistent art because it is Toyotaro, and the anime has to deal with different artists, different key animators and stuff like that. So it does have the more consistent look. So I do feel like people will kind of crop to that and say, oh, that looks good. Hey, yeah, I want to read this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think people just kind of overall been drawn to the anime more recently. So I can kind of see why people chose the anime on your poll, Mike.
Those are some very interesting points that you make because, around the time of the Universe 6 tournament, which we'll actually get into and we'll kind of break down a little bit of some of the events that happen in the manga around that point and some of these different arcs in this video, they seem to be resoundingly behind it. Everyone liked the fact that they had Super Saiyan God appearing at the tournament during the fight with Hit and everything like that, which I said we'll get into. But there were some people who did respond to this poll as well. Now, Christian Cotter, as I've shown in a video before, he happened to say that he prefers the manga because it has more consistent art, and he believes that Toyotaro seems to understand the heart and the world of the series more. So again, very much like art style. Super JAYAIN has his own strong opinion, which you could always pause the video to see, but I'm not going to read that out loud. A lot of people are saying things like, the manga is more rushed than the anime, which certainly is a really good thing that you could say. If we don't count filler or, episodes, some believe that the anime is better than the manga if we count the filler, because Slice of Life is really good. And yeah, that's something that the Dragon Ball Super anime has really done well thus far. But a lot of it seems really to be that it looks great. Toyotaro has very consistent animation, or illustrations actually, rather. And he, has more of a consistent theme because he's one person, whereas with the anime episodes, as you'll see, there's a number of different key animators. There's different people overseeing each individual episode, different teams. So it's not always going to look exactly the same, but that could be said for a bunch of different anime, if not every
Mike,
anime, really.
Sorry to cut you off here, but I think one thing we have to talk about too is what the manga does is pay homage. And I think if you want to scroll back up to what Christian Carter, was that his name?
Christian Carter, yes.
Christian Carter actually says, Toyotaro seems to understand the heart and the world of the series more. Now, I kind of agree with him in that sense because me and you were actually looking through the Dragon Ball Super manga. We'll get to this a bit later, but just looking at some of the panels of the manga, when you look at chapter 4, I believe, and it shows one of Frieza's planets, very reminiscent to how exactly one of Frieza's planets looked in Dragon Ball Z. Toyotaro remembers this stuff. He remembers stuff shown in DBZ, and he knows the fans, the people reading Dragon Ball Super, fans of the old DBZ know this. Also, like in the ROF training, post-training ROF, you know what I mean, when they're in the Room of Spirit and Time.
Yeah.
In the manga version, remember they take off the gloves and they do that pose, the famous Saiyan Saga pose, Vegeta and Goku.
Yes.
Toyotaro knows fans dig this stuff. He pays homage. He knows the original lore. So I feel like he does do that, and that pops fans. You know, fans love that. You know what I mean?
I mean, absolutely. It's really interesting that Toyotaro has revisited a lot of ideas, locations, poses, as you mentioned, from the original manga, especially, not just the anime, but the manga itself. So Toyotaro definitely keeps a lot of that, those elements from the manga in his own manga. But what we're going to be discussing next is going to be about the recent chapter of Dragon Ball Super's manga that is just coming out. These are kind of leaks. So if you don't really want to see that, just let us know your thoughts down below about this whole situation. But we're going to get into that right now. And, this was first posted by Anime AJ, who, MJ, you can go into more about him on Twitter and what he does, but he posted something directly, I believe, from the newest issue of V Jump, which shows merged Zamasu, but it also shows a very particularly interesting transformation and sight for Goku and Vegeta. MJ, what are your thoughts about all this?
Yeah, before we get into this actual image here, just let me shout out AJ real quick. You can follow AJ at Anime AJ on Twitter, and if you want to get into animation, if you want to get into the different art styles of not only Dragon Ball, but pretty much anything that has to do with Toei, Madhouse, anything like that, you want to go follow this guy. He knows what he's talking about. He even has a YouTube channel just titled AJ. You can find him just by going into the search bar on whether Google or YouTube and just typing in Dragon Ball Super staff roundup or Dragon Ball Super animation supervisors, where he goes over like Tate, Yamamuro, Shimanuki, people like that. You're definitely going to want to follow this guy if you're into that type of stuff. And he does have stuff, and he does show stuff like this, like from V-Jump, you know what I mean? He has images like this, so you definitely want to follow him on Twitter and on YouTube if you definitely want to keep up with this type of stuff. But yeah, Mike, in this image, it shows merged Zamasu, but that really wasn't the talk of the town, if you will, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
It was in the bottom right corner. We see Goku in his, if you can tell by the shading of his hair, red form. Super Saiyan God. You can tell by his pupils, the shading of the hair, and basically if you would scroll a bit up, you can actually see
Zamasu's junk. I mean, Vegeta in what appears to be a different transformation as well. Same pupils as Goku, same shading. So what exactly?
They're both leaner.
Yes. Look at those biceps. They're much smaller now.
I'm pretty sure you hate that, right?
Well, Harold does, definitely.
But anyways, yeah, Vegeta and Goku, and pretty much are in the Super Saiyan God form.
Yes.
So yes, Vegeta has achieved, or he is showing off the SSG transformation.
Yes, as again, Anime AJ did show on his Twitter, as we could see right here, very zoomed in typical Dragon Ball Z fashion, panning and zooming, Vegeta's new form, which I guess he probably should have achieved already, but it seems like he might not have, Super Saiyan God. And this is definitely a very interesting transformation because for so long, fans have really wanted to see Vegeta in this transformation. Look how freaking ripped he looks, by the way. Like, Toyotaro did a really good job of showing the definition and the separation between literally all of his muscles. I still don't understand why he's wearing armor, because, I mean, he has a force field and stuff. He probably doesn't need it. But I guess it completes his outfit. Vegeta's all about accessorizing. He doesn't have the trunks anymore, kind of like Superman and Batman anymore either. But it's really interesting to see this transformation. But MJ, as we know, this brings up the debate. Once more, the Super Saiyan God fanboys shall rule the galaxy, and we shall have war. MJ doesn't get that reference, guys, but if you do, go down below in the comments section, let us know. But people think, again, Vegeta turning into this form means Super Saiyan God is stronger than Super Saiyan Blue. But our friend Herms, Todd Blankenship himself, or at least that's what he wants you to think his name is, on Twitter has shown Goku describes Super Saiyan God as the transformation prior to Blue, and Black derides it as a lower rank Super Saiyan. So MJ, again, Super Saiyan God is not as strong as Super Saiyan Blue. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that was pretty much already answered to us in the previous arc of Toyotaro's own manga when Goku used this form before Blue. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like a stepping stone. Super Saiyan, then Red, and then Blue. So again, he's telling us here, Black is literally saying it's a lower rank Super Saiyan. Goku's literally saying transformation prior to Blue. So there you go.
Absolutely. And this brings up what we're going to really get into next, because we're going to show you exactly what we're talking about in relation to the usage of Super Saiyan God in the manga, as well as Super Saiyan Blue. And I guess bringing up some things because, again, this is also about whether we think the manga and the anime, which one is really better than the other one. So first off, let's go over to the Viz website. This is, it's nice that Viz over on their website, viz.com, happens to have all of these chapters from Shonen Jump up until Dragon Ball Super Chapter 20 of the manga, which is what we're going to be using. We're going to be using those official translations today. And let's go first off to when Toyotaro has in fact brought back the Super Saiyan God transformation in the manga, and that is where one of the big differences happens in the fights, which is Goku versus Hit, in which Goku transforms into the Super Saiyan God form. MJ, would you like to break it down while I show images?
Yeah, definitely. So Goku is fighting Hit in his Super Saiyan transformation. Everyone's remarking that Goku's having a tough time because he's just in his regular SSJ form, right?
Yes.
And Goku decides to go a step further, but instead of going blue, he actually uses the red form, so he becomes an SSG, and Vegeta actually notes, Kakarot, you jerk, you're still trying to save energy for the blue form, even at a time like this. And also, just to make note, everybody else is pretty much shocked. Hit is, Piccolo, all the side characters like Yamcha, Puar, Roshi, Ox King, etc. Even I think Beerus and them were shocked too, so it just makes sense. We haven't seen that form since he used it against Beerus, and he's bringing it back in this tournament. And just to the audience as well, the audience like us, we were shocked too, because this was a very different turn of events compared to the anime adaptation of this said arc.
And in regards to this fight, it's very interesting because he does end up using it, and Hit tries to use the Toki Tobashi, or time skip, against Goku, but it doesn't work, much like in the anime adaptation with Goku Super Saiyan Blue. And as they explain, as Hit is kind of shocked and he's like, what's going on? Beerus even asks this question, what's going on here, Whis? Explain. Whis says, Goku's power has become far superior to that of Hit's. That is what's happening here. Hit's skills are only effective against opponents who are near or below his level, so that means Goku has surpassed him in this form. But Beerus questions, and this is what a lot of people have to understand, but Vegeta couldn't do that even in Super Saiyan Blue. Back then, he wasn't able to perform even 10% of Super Saiyan Blue's usual strength. That form is something you can only use a few times in a single day. It consumes too much energy. So what Whis is saying here is that Super Saiyan God is stronger than Super Saiyan Blue's Vegeta, or Vegeta's Super Saiyan Blue form that he used against Hit, but only because Vegeta used the Super Saiyan Blue form multiple times, which drained his energy, in the manga version at least, to less than 10%. So again, Super Saiyan Blue is greater than Super Saiyan God. Hit powers up, and then Goku, goes to fly at him to attack him once more. Hit tries to stop it, saying, "Oh, I even did it." However, we see Goku transforms once more into Super Saiyan Blue and is able to break out of Hit's Tokitobashi even at full power, and he is able to overpower Hit, showing that Super Saiyan Blue is stronger than Super Saiyan God. However, again, this does raise a question, which is very interesting about what's happening in the manga right now, because, as I talked to you about this earlier, MJ, as Herms had put it on his Twitter, essentially, Vegeta transforms into a Super Saiyan Blue the instant he attacks. He stays in his Super Saiyan God form, and then he transforms into Blue every time he attacks. However, this seems to be directly, and Herms puts it himself, does that mean Vegeta will be turning blue repeatedly? Isn't that like the worst thing he could do? Because, as we just pointed out, whenever you transform over and over again, it drains your energy, and it made Vegeta just transforming into it twice at 10% of his power.
Yeah.
So, MJ, what do you think about this?
So actually, me and you talked a bit off air, as you mentioned, and I do have a theory now. It's not like I have a solid, foolproof theory. It's just going off of these little itty-bitty facts here that we've been scrolling through the images, and basically, Vegeta was in his Super Saiyan form against Kappa. Now, we know that's his regular ki. Now, he went into his blue form,
Yes.
right? And then he reverted back. So then he went back into his blue form. So going back and forth between God Ki and regular Ki, maybe that's what drained his stamina, or that's what drained his energy, and that's what dropped him to such a low degree of power, and that's why Hit was able to decimate him incredibly, in their fight. So maybe now, since maybe he's not reverting back to regular Ki or to his base form, he's staying in his God form. He's going between red and blue, blue and red, red and blue, and not from, base to blue and yellow to blue. I know that sounds incredibly weird. But I'm hoping you guys get what I'm saying here, that he's going from regular Ki to God Ki. That's what messed him up in the tournament arc, whereas in the Future Trunks arc, he's going from God Ki to God Ki, if that makes sense.
It does, to a degree, I think, make sense with what you're headcanoning and rationalizing, basically. And as I did say to Herms, although it doesn't seem to be showing up right now, I said that I hope that they explain it, because within the context of what happens here at the tournament, it doesn't really make that much sense. But again, Vegeta did go from normal to Super Saiyan God, or Super Saiyan Blue. So I guess it makes sense that such a transformation, such a shift will drain your energy, because Super Saiyan Blue is at least the strongest form we know of right now. Here as well, they also say in the manga explicitly that Super Saiyan God is not as strong as Super Saiyan Blue, because after meeting Beerus, Goku and Vegeta went to, with Whis for training. Their strength evolved into a power that surpassed even God Super Saiyan Blue, and thanks to that, they were able to defeat the resurrected Frieza. So as the manga is saying, much like the anime, Super Saiyan Blue is in fact stronger than Super Saiyan God.
Bro, there's just multiple panels in the manga. I mean, even if we're just talking strictly about the manga here, even in the anime, it's just told to us repeatedly by Goku, the characters, the narrator, that Blue is the stronger form. I mean, I don't know what else to say to people who constantly think God is even stronger. Before the manga even started to leak, the Future Trunks arc, leak or whatever for this recent chapter, people were already screaming that the SS God form was the strongest, which is funny to me because that's not what immediately came to mind. I immediately messaged you this, remember? And you can vouch for this. I immediately messaged you this. This is what came to mind. Instead of screaming, OMG, is Super Saiyan God now the superior form? I screamed, so since Vegeta just trained in the Room of Spirit and Time, does this mean his Super Saiyan God is now stronger than his blue form before? And are they gonna save his blue form for when they fuse? Goku Black and Zamasu. You know what I mean? So the point is that blue is the superior form. It's the stronger form. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So again, they're saying Super Saiyan Blue is stronger. But the thing is, we are looking at the manga, and we're constantly also referencing the anime because these two are really kind of different continuities. Different events happen within them. I mean, all the different events that we see occurring in both are pretty different. Like, as we said before, Goku never goes Super Saiyan God in the anime again after the fight with Beerus. He fights Hit as his base form, and then he fights him as a Super Saiyan Blue. A lot of the stuff doesn't happen. There is no advancement from Hit in the manga. There is only the advancement in the anime. So there's a number of differences just here. For example, they just briefly pass over the entire resurrection of F arc in the manga, whereas in the anime we see the whole thing just like in the movie. And then, for example, here's another difference that I actually really liked in the manga that MJ and I were talking about before, which is the fight between Beerus and Champa. Now, in the anime, we see Beerus fighting Champa. However, it's mostly them fighting on top of a table, punching each other really quickly. But this is around the same point it happens in the manga. Whereas in the manga, Beerus and Champa are fighting in outer space, which is pretty awesome to, just to start out with. And they're fighting because I guess Beerus had eaten the fruit off of Champa's birthday cake. And they're destroying these planets. Like, Beerus goes and lands down on this planet, and Champa jumps down and he kicks the planet after Beerus deflects all the blasts, and the kick is so powerful it blows up the planet, and they're destroying these moons and other planets, as you could see. And they go and they get so pissed off, they charge up these final attacks, and they could destroy the entire universe. And so Whis and Vados just knock them out.
It's like how you picture two gods of destruction actually fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you picture two gods of destruction, two guys who have the power to decimate the universe, when they fight, you do picture planets getting kicked around. I would even picture solar systems just getting flicked,
or even galaxies. Why not?
You get my point.
Like, all this stuff really seems what would happen, but the anime scaled it back significantly to where they just had them punching each other, and then like the surface area around them was being erased, basically. So this is definitely something I liked.
Yeah.
However, something I thought that actually was better in the anime was the fight between Goku and Frost. Now, a lot of people disagree because, as you could see in here, the fight is a lot different. Frost jumps up into the air, and he's throwing blasts at Goku, which Goku is deflecting as a Super Saiyan. Frost comes to attack Goku. Goku blocks him and hits him. And, the fight is pretty different in the manga, and there's a lot more, different offense. There's a lot more offense that's happening. So a lot of people tend to like it.
Well, yeah, people might like it because Frost just happens to get a bit more offense on. I don't think people like it when guys just get one-shotted. They often think that guy is just a jabroni, you know what I mean? So, yeah, one thing, when they see Frost actually doing this stuff against, actually, in the panel you have right now on the screen, Goku does, I guess, amp it up, and he is actually starting to block Frost's attacks pretty effortlessly here. But prior to that, they were kind of going at it, so I think people probably just like that, it wasn't just a complete stomp fest like it was in the anime.
The only thing, though, that I would say makes this fight better in the anime, however, and I feel like this is more important anyway, is the fact that in the anime there's much more of a story. Frost is pretending to be a good guy. He's pretending that he's fighting for the children of his universe and all this other nonsensical stuff. And then it ends up that, as we could see here, Frost punches Goku, cheating, which basically incapacitates Goku and allows him to kick him out of the ring. Now, as you can see here, Goku is not winking whatsoever, so Goku did not throw this fight. But this happens, and he beats Goku. It's really shocking. However, I feel like it was a bigger shock in the anime, especially considering how they had just developed Frost's character, and it seemed like it was a lot more of an intense thing. Plus, as you can see here, this happens about halfway through the manga chapter, whereas in the anime, it was a cliffhanger at the end of an episode, and people, like, the internet exploded because Goku went first, and Goku lost first. So, it was a big deal. And then we go over to the fight between Vegeta and Frost. And I kind of do like this fight more in the anime in some ways, because even though it's not really a fight in the anime, Frost kind of just runs at Vegeta, and Vegeta literally one-shots him out of the ring. I feel like it was more impactful because, really, what do we get from all these extra movements? You know, Frost blocks an attack from Vegeta, Vegeta hits him a couple more times, and then Vegeta basically force Ki pushes him out of the ring, and he wins.
Yeah.
You know, what do you really gain as an advantage from this one? What do you really have to stand to gain versus Vegeta just punching him once and knocking him out? It's the same end result. Vegeta still pretty much pwns the dude, if people still use that term, and he just hasn't beat. So again, I feel like a lot of the stuff from the tournament that people liked, and here's a big one too, Vegeta versus Vegeta, I feel like this was so much better in the anime too, because not only does like a logical stuff happen during this fight. For example, Vegeta transforms into a Super Saiyan, and he can't lift what Goku states is the equivalent of 1,000 tons. Even at this point in the franchise, really? Like, come on. But it basically comes down to Vegeta destroys a bunch of the ring, and he insults him, and Vegeta falls in a hole in the ring. He doesn't, like, get knocked out. Vegeta doesn't use a final flash. It's far less impressive. So, again, there's a lot of examples, I feel like, with the manga where sometimes it's really cool, like, compared to the anime. Like, the look of it is always consistent. Looks great. You could tell when dude is doing it. But overall, I feel like a lot of times the manga is really kind of lacking compared to the anime. What do you think about this, though, MJ?
I mean, yeah, I would agree with you on that as far as like a story point of view goes, and like storyboarding, and I kind of like how the way the fights are put together. But as far as like art wise and stuff like that, I do think, you know, the manga does have that, but the anime does succeed where you're pretty much talking about as far as the story goes. Like, even with the Kaba fight, I do think the Kaba fight was handled even better in the anime, in my opinion, because in the manga, it happened just so fast. There wasn't really anything there, you know what I mean? However, though, some people might counter that and say that in the anime, it's even weirder that they would have Kaba get so pissed off and then have him change so quickly at the end of the fight. So I guess either way, it's a double-edged sword. They had him get so pissed off to achieve this transformation by rage, and then he got extremely he went like 360 at the end, like, oh, hey, master. You know what I mean? So it's like, I guess it's really whatever, but in the manga, it was just so short, you know what I mean? And plus, the fight was just so short. Like, Kaba goes Super Saiyan, and then Vegeta just basically like stops his punch, and he's like, yeah, you're not in my league, but you got some potential, you know?
Not to mention, in the anime version of the fight with Frost, Frost basically says, instead of being evil and all this other stuff that they built up in the anime, that was a really cool twist, where he's basically Frieza. He has very similar goals to Frieza. It's just like, oh, why'd you embarrass me? And Frost is like, oh, I just wanted to get out of this worthless unpaid tournament. So he wasn't going to get any kind of reward in the end. So that's why he did it, which is very, very significantly less compelling. But MJ, another thing I will say to you right now is that I think we should briefly touch on power scaling, which I know people love in this community. But let's go to the fight between Goku and Beerus. Now, as we could see, the fight between Goku and Beerus is a little bit different in the manga than it is in the anime. Now, one of the big things is they're fighting in Earth's stratosphere. Toyotaro made sure to include that because it looks like they're in space and they should be dead. Goku's still breathing, but Earth stratosphere, okay, let's solve that plot hole. They're still kind of destroying the universe with the shockwaves of their punches. Meanwhile, Supreme Kai and Old Kai have assembled the Dragon Balls from Namek so that they could try and take them away from Champa. A bunch of stuff's happening. Again, different continuity. But as we see, Beerus creates his finishing maneuver, throws it at Goku, and Goku, as a Super Saiyan God, is able to fire a Kamehameha, destroying the blast, canceling it out, which turns him back into his base form. Now, MJ, as you and I both know, something pretty different happens here versus what happens in the anime. What's the difference in the anime to what's happening here?
Well, in the anime, Goku actually reverts from his SSG form into his Super Saiyan form, and he actually has like a mini fight with Beerus in his SSJ form. Like, they fight in the stratosphere, they fight above the ocean, they fight in the ocean, and then they're back in the stratosphere. They have like a beam struggle, they have all this crazy extra stuff happens, and then they have another beam struggle where their beams collide. That's sort of the replacement to the Sphere of Destruction, and Goku actually tanks that blast, he punches that blast in his base form. And yeah, pretty much all of that is excluded from the manga. Now, Mike, some people might actually say this, that in the manga, Goku didn't absorb the God Ki or absorb the God Power. However, even though, I would maybe tend to agree with that, I feel like he had to, at least, absorb some of it just due to the fact that he's able to achieve the blue form, because I feel like he achieves the blue form because of that, and then obviously Vegeta achieves it because he goes off to train with Whis,
The main thing is that in the manga, they don't mention that. They don't mention, oh, you've absorbed the power of the Super Saiyan form. The fire of the Super Saiyan God truly still burns in your eyes and your Super Saiyan form and everything. They don't really mention that because Goku, up until he fires his Kamehameha at the blast and then changes back to his base form when the fight's over, never transforms into his Super Saiyan form again, or a number of other things that happen in the anime. Not to mention that because Goku transforms again multiple times, not only in this arc but also the Future Trunks arc, into his Super Saiyan God transformation, could possibly suggest that the order of the transformations is different as well. In the anime, Goku basically absorbed the power of Super Saiyan God into what would appear to be his base or his Super Saiyan. So when he turns Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, and then Super Saiyan Blue, all of those would be multiplying the power of Super Saiyan God. So essentially, with the minimum, Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2 level would be what Goku was as a Super Saiyan God. So Super Saiyan Blue is many times stronger than Super Saiyan God. But if we say that in their base form, after Battle of Gods, Goku and then eventually Vegeta go on to be Super Saiyan God level, that means Super Saiyan 3 is 400 times stronger than Super Saiyan God, and Super Saiyan Blue is arguably thousands of times Super Saiyan God in the anime version. Subsequently, this would mean that the anime counterparts of Dragon Ball Super characters are hundreds or perhaps thousands of times more powerful than their manga counterparts, which would mean that pretty much trying to scale both of them equivalent to one another, trying to say what happens here automatically would happen here and vice versa, does not necessarily apply or really fly there. If we're going to say that this is really what's happening.
I mean, I would tend to agree with you, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't think we have enough evidence though, bro. Like, I want to say yes, just due to the fact that, like, the panel you have up right here is a perfect example, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you have Super Saiyan God Goku right here shooting the Kamehameha, and then you have him completely revert back to his base form, and then you have Beerus and Goku completely not even mention the whole God form being absorbed into him. However, he still had to have some form of God Ki absorbed into him just so he could achieve the blue form later in those arcs when training with Whis, and then obviously Vegeta would obtain it later somehow, some way. We still haven't learned how Whis got him to have God Ki, or that's...
In the anime version, at least they do give us some kind of an explanation, because when Goku and Vegeta are training with Whis, they do... Whis does say to keep keep your ki within your body, and he also puts them into his staff, at which point they are training and they are keeping their ki in their bodies, and next thing we know that they have the Super Saiyan Blue transformation. So perhaps powering up your ki within your body as we had instructed, not letting it leak out and only using it when you're about to attack or, whatever you're doing, is the way to achieve Super Saiyan God, or is the way to achieve God Ki. However, they haven't really explained it in the manga version of this, and ultimately it does make us have to question what is the difference in power and the difference in multipliers and all these numbers that people hate in this community. What's the difference between those in the two different adaptations? So ultimately, MJ, I just feel like we should just count them as their own separate things and not try and say, because, for example, Goku Black transforms into a Super Saiyan 2, supposedly, I guess, and then a Super Saiyan Rose, that automatically Super Saiyan Rose in the anime has a thousands of times multiplier, because you're going to tell me Vegeta was holding back to 0.0001% of his power just because he wanted to piss off Black, despite the fact that in every other example that Vegeta holds back in fights, he's not holding back to anywhere near that degree. Why would he even transform into a Super Saiyan Blue? That's the question, but we don't have an answer in this video. We've already done videos about that on my channel. Alright guys, so today we are breaking down the differences between the Dragon Ball Super anime and manga, what we like more, what we might not like so much. Overall, in our conclusions though, MJ, do you like the anime more or do you like the manga more?
Fuck Super, go watch Hunter x Hunter. No, I'm just kidding. If I had to pick, I like both. Cop out. I know it's a cop out. I like both. Both of them each have their own flaws. Both of them each have their own good qualities. But it really is hard to pick because I can nitpick and dissect each of them. And it's hard, bro. It really is. But obviously, your Twitter followers chose the anime. So
absolutely. And overall, I feel like I agree with them. The Super manga can look nice. It has that consistency. But at the end of the day, I don't really see the point of it. And I feel like the anime just overall is the superior product and the one that most people are going to see at the end of the day, so that's all that really matters. But this was our video discussing this and breaking it down. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Which one do you prefer, the anime or the manga? What do you think about this whole situation with Super Saiyan God Vegeta and everything else we talked about? And of course, check out GeekList channel in the annotation, and as I always say, stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future.
And you better subscribe!